Good morning. I'm John McClure, the panel moderator for our God at Work series, broadcast here from Sebring First Church in Sebring, Florida. We've had panels of business leaders talking about God at work and how God influences their lives and how he's in their lives in the community and at work and at family and that sort of thing. Last week we had a husband and wife, each of whom had separate careers, and it was a very interesting discussion. And this week we're going to liven things up a bit. I guess if you could count livening things up when you have three teenage boys in the room who had to get up at 7 in the morning or so to be here, but we're glad they did join us. So our guests today, we have Nate Van Dam, Henry Giuliano, and Matt Andrews. And they all share one thing in common. They're all graduating seniors this year. And they're all headed off to bright new futures, and we're very, very excited about where they're headed. So we'll talk first. Matt, we'll start with you. So tell us where you're headed, Matt.
So June 24th, I leave and I go to Colorado Springs to the Air Force Academy. And then I go into about 6 weeks of basic training, and then go right into school from there.
Okay. So Air Force Academy, and what do you hope to be?
I hope to be a pilot. Hopefully, I would like to fly fighters, but I'm thinking more like C-130s.
Get focused. Think fighters. If that's what you'd like to fly, then make that your goal. Don't think C-130s is Plan B. Plan B comes true altogether too often. Always go for Plan A. So, right here from Sebring, Florida, we have our own Air Force Academy man who hopes to be a jet pilot for our country one day. That's pretty terrific. Next, we have Henry Giuliano. So, Henry, tell us a little bit about what you might be doing.
So, in September, I'm going to York St. John University in England, and I will be there for 3 years, as well as attending International Soccer Academy.
Terrific. I would point out for the listening audience that your brother Ben spent 2 years over in England at a finishing school. Your mother is from England, I believe.
Yeah.
And your father, David Giuliano, is the pastor here at First Church Sebring, and I believe he spent significant time in England where he met your mother as well.
He did.
So if you're wondering where Henry got his little accent, of course, that would be it. Yes, indeed. So Nate, tell us about you.
So I am going to Purdue University starting in August. I plan to study aerospace engineering, and I'm hoping to become kind of a trajectory analyst for like NASA or SpaceX.
Wow. A trajectory analyst, no less.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific.
Yeah.
I would point out for those of you who know the Van Dam family, I don't think you associate them with aerospace engineering or trajectory analysis, but rather the Van Dams are the teachers of art here and have just done a super, super job of leading the art programs. And I'm sure many of you out there have been to the arts thing at the high school, and you've been a part of that program too as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
We've done pretty well every year. We've been breaking records. So
Yes, that's right. So, and those records are monies that are raised to help people in the community. These kids are out there just working their hearts out to create art that you can sell, and it goes to the community for help. I think that's terrific too. You've learned a great lesson there.
Yeah.
You know, one that will carry you through all of life. And I'm trusting that you haven't strayed so far from this thing that you have no desire at all to create art. I hope you're involved with that.
Yes, I am.
Very good. Very good, guys. Okay, so one of the things I'd like to kind of explore today. Let's start out with with friendship with each other. You know, have you been pretty fast friends throughout high school?
No, definitely. Yeah, we've been really good friends throughout high school, I would say. And that's one of the things that's really been significant about our high school career in middle school and before that, is that we've always had that group of friends, and we've always, just been through all of these changes in life and all these massive events that you experience before you're 18, and and before you make that big step to college. And we've all done it together.
So now you have to look in the mirror and say, oh no, it's time to grow up. What are we going to do now? We have to each go our separate ways. But being in high school, I'm still very good friends with a lot of my high school friends. And I expect your allegiances with each other will not necessarily just evaporate because you've graduated from high school and you're going somewhere else. I can only imagine what it's going to be like a year from now when you all get back together and start talking about what your relative experiences have been and share those.
Definitely.
That would be great. So Matt, let's hit you up here. How do you feel about losing contact with all your friends and going out to meet a whole new group of people?
It's definitely it's gonna be a weird experience, and it's gonna be weird moving it. So when I get there, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks with a roommate that I've never met before. So that will be interesting. But I'm kind of up for the challenge, and I'm up because like every other freshman, no one knows anyone. Maybe they had like contact through text messages, or I know one person who I met last year when I was there. But besides that, it's all 1,000 new people meeting 1,000 new people. So I feel up for a challenge, and I don't feel like I'll have any problems making friends, because especially during basic, you kind of like they said I was in a call one time, and they said like the football players and like the runners, they like help each other out with one thing and the other. So it's kind of you kind of group together as a group, and then a lot of them form friendships that last forever. So.
I think that is a hallmark of service.
Yeah.
That I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, so I can tell you that it's a constant, especially when you're all thrown together. Mm-hmm. You also have a common goal, and that is to succeed and finish and help your buddy out so that you cross the line together. That's just a very important thing. You're going to learn a lot about teamwork, and there'll be plenty of times that you'll have to get close to God during this experience, believe me. Yeah. Just help me through this one, Lord, and we'll be all right. So what are you thinking about, Nate?
Well, it's definitely like gonna be strange moving away, because like Matthew I've known from like Y soccer since I was like 3 or 4, and Henry I remember when he first like moved into town. So that's gonna be strange, like moving away. But I'm definitely excited to meet new people and like kind of experience those new things, because it's something that we don't really have here. So it's just something new to experience.
You don't get a lot of new people coming in every day here, do we?
No.
So how do you think your faith is going to carry you as you move forward? Have you given any thought to that?
Well, I think in many ways, I think whenever you start something new, you always are going to be backing up and relying on your faith and relying on your trust in God to start that journey. And as every new start is, it's always a bit nervous and nerve-wracking and new. But you have that solid foundation of God to know that you will be okay. It's going to go great, and that He has a plan for you, and that whatever that plan is, it'll all fall in place.
Well said.
It's also going to be interesting. Like I know for me, since I'm moving away from here, I won't be like going to this church regularly anymore. I'll have to find another one to go to while I'm there. So that's going to be like a kind of new start, not necessarily my faith, but like a kind of new start in my faith, because I'm at a new place and I'm meeting new people through that. So that's going to be something new.
Definitely. And like how like Nate said, like not only just like new friends as we talked about, but like not necessarily a new start, but like a new church family, and finding that new church family and finding that community where you're based, and finding those people that you can have that connection with and have that family bond that we've had all of our life. And thankfully we haven't had to move or change anything. We've had this solid foundation of a church family, and now it's time for us to go out and find a new one. And the thought of that's kind of scary, but we know that like whenever we come back, like we'll have this family, and we know that wherever we go, there's a family for us there as well.
Very good. You know, sometimes a good place to make friends is actually in the church. It's been my experience that if you make friends, but even though you had things in common, the friends aren't necessarily people that are strong believers in God or otherwise. You find yourself gravitating away from the church. Mm-hmm. But if you seek out the church, then oftentimes you'll meet people in the church whose beliefs are similar to yours, and with whom you can bond, and it just helps a lot, I think, you know. So the whole faith family is very large. My experience is that almost all of us have this God-shaped void within us that can only be filled by God. You know, we have to gravitate towards that, and without that, we can never be really happy. You know? So where do you see your futures going with your relationship with God?
I think that it can only get better from here. You know, you kind of talk about, you know, being nurtured in the church, and then getting older and told to being, you know, go get set out by the church and in your lives. And I think that's applicable to us very much so in our next journey. You know, we've had all these years of developing our faith with God and our connection with Him, and obviously that's still to be developed and still to be grown. But you know, when we go out in our next step of our life, we have that to go off of and to build on when we go out.
Very good. So Matt, let me ask you this. Let me lay the groundwork a little bit first, and then we'll talk about how each of you reacted to this. But I know that you're all three. You actually all three attend this church,
Yes.
and you've been baptized into this church, or you know, grown up in the church. So when you graduated, how did y'all feel about not being able to have a graduation ceremony per se?
Well, we do have a ceremony. Well, at least they try to give us a ceremony, which is in July, but they will be able to attend it, but I'll already be gone. So it's kind of, I mean, I would like to walk, but at the end of the day, I got into the university I wanted to go to, and it is what it is. I'm just not, you know, you win some, you lose some. You know. Like at the end of the day.
Always remember that.
At the end of the day, you know, I didn't get to do stuff like my parents got to do, but I just had to not remorse on it, just kind of just move on and experience the next step in life.
That's great.
Right?
You know, I'll bring this up. The church got together because we knew there was going to be some deficiencies in your graduation celebration, shall we say it that way, and some folks got together and decided, you know what, we can have fun with these three guys. Let's do this. Let's have a graduation parade, and I'm not talking about the parade ground, but cars. We lined up a whole caravan of cars and mapped out the route to drive to each of their houses. Total surprise to them, I think.
Definitely.
And so they were at home, made to stay there, no doubt, by their parents, because they knew that what was coming. And so the parade came by your house. Each of you were in the yard. People handed envelopes to you, honked their horn, gave their congratulations, waved balloons, signs, everything else. So how did that make you feel when the parade came to your house? Let's start with you, Nate.
So it was actually funny because the school kind of put one on similar to that, but really the one from the church was, I'd say, more meaningful since I actually knew the people that were taking part of it more, because for the one through the school, a lot of it was just parents of other students, and I don't really know a lot of the parents of other students.
Right.
So it was a lot more meaningful for the church to kind of come together and do that for us. It was really nice to be able to get congratulated like that and like to be able to see people. Because I mean, not having graduation is kind of strange because of this kind of world we're in right now. But it's that kind of parade is one way we are able to celebrate it, and I thought it was really nice of them to all kind of come together and do.
You know, we hear the phrase God thing now and again, which I've used myself, that same term. And I use it in this context. I use it to say that, you know, this isn't a natural thing, that this is a God thing, that this happened. You know, something intervenes in somebody's life in a way that you never expected to fill a need or to create a change in your life that needed to happen, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying a parade is an unusual thing or a terrific thing, but did you feel the presence of God as the parade people from the church came by at all? Did that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, seeing all of that happened and seeing like a church community get together like that and to celebrate our accomplishments was overwhelming and definitely so meaningful. And you could and so at like so many times people say, you know, often God does things that you really don't ever know, and that's how I was when all this COVID-19 stuff happened, and graduation was getting canceled, and next it was prom, and next it was like, oh, you'll see your friends in 2 weeks, okay, 3 weeks, okay, never mind, you won't see them at all, and you lose those moments as a senior, but you know, through all of that, I think it's important to know that God has a plan, and that, you know, no matter how you may feel now, all of this is happening for a reason, and you may not know that reason now, and you may not know that reason ever, but there is a reason behind it. And I think through things like our parade, and like so many other great things that have happened because of this, I think you see the purpose of God's plan in that, definitely.
So Matt, how did you feel?
I felt I felt like the church, like, because there's a lot of people there that, like, I kind of knew, but not really, and they're over there praying for me, you know, giving me cars, honking the horns, blocking traffic, and I was just, like, astonished. I was just happy. It just showed me, like, that, like, the church family, like, cares for us, and you know, they'll take time out of their busy days to come out and you know, give us assurance and give us a little something that, you know, we didn't get to have, which I greatly appreciated all that, and I feel like God has done a lot of good things in this church. I feel like He just keeps moving on. The next miracle just keeps on coming.
So I'm hearing you say you kind of felt God's presence in all of this as it came by. You mentioned you could feel people praying for you. I think that's something very interesting because I know in the past I've had to have surgery, and I've felt God's presence in the prayers that people were praying for me, lifting me up in a very tangible way. I mean, I can't explain it any other way, but you can. I think when people are praying for you, you're lifted up in ways that you would never otherwise be able to feel or even know. It's remarkable to me that you as a high school senior would say that, so I'm delighted to hear that, by the way. I had to be much older before it occurred to me, so that's terrific. Well, let's talk about just a little bit. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you brought something up that I think is it can be important, and that's how, as young people, COVID has affected you guys maybe more than most of us, because here you are, you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head. Hey, here we are in school, you know, your friends are everything to you. You're constantly on social media communicating back and forth. You see your friends, you participate in sports, you do this, you do that, and boom, it's all taken from you. At one of the most critical junctures of your life, when you're finishing up high school, you'll never be able to go back. You will never be able to do that again. So how did that affect you, Nate?
So it was kind of strange because it was like right before we were going off to spring break. We just kind of started hearing like, oh, school might be canceled for a couple weeks or something. So it's kind of weird, like the last time I've seen most of my friends so far, like I haven't seen a lot of them in 3 months-ish, since that, like the beginning of March when we, like last were at school. So it's kind of strange, like not seeing them, and it's kind of a weird thought, like, oh, school's done now. Like if at first it felt like just a longer break, because like we had spring break, we had Christmas break, where we were like, oh, I'll see you guys like in a couple weeks, but now it's like, it's a little different, and it's kind of like strange, like missing your friends like this, because now it's like we're going in our own directions and kind of going off in our own things. So it's definitely a little sad to not be able to see them, but we've definitely kept up online with like texting and what we can. So we've definitely made the most of what we have. You know.
Back in my day, we had yearbooks, and you passed the yearbooks around, and people would sign them, and I still get a kick out of pulling them out of the closet and reading them today. So did you guys get a chance to have your yearbooks and have people sign them, or is that just gone?
I don't think we did.
No.
Usually they don't print them till like right towards the end of
Right,
the year. I know
right.
last year they got delayed and didn't get printed till like summer break or something like that. So this year, no, we didn't. I don't think.
Did
we
you even get a yearbook this
We
year?
have it. No, I think they're saying like end of June.
Yeah.
Mm.
By the time you would get one.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow.
And like Nate said, I want to like pick up on that, how like the Christmas break you're like, oh, see you in 2 weeks, and like spring break, oh yeah, see you next week, and even like being a year behind, being an 11th grader, oh yeah, I'll see this may all be happening now, but I know that I'll see you next year. And for seniors that's just different, because like there is no like next year that you have with them. Like you've enjoyed all that 4 years with them, and now it's like there's no see you next time, because, and I know that might sound depressing, but that's just how it is. And like there's no like I'll see you whenever. You're kind of done with those types of memories. And like Nate also said, we've been keeping in touch in other ways, and we've kind of had, like everybody has, we've had to adapt just like everybody else.
Yeah, and so I play a sport in every term, so fall, winter, and spring. So it was, and we had a new coach come in, Coach Leo, and he was I don't know what he did, but somehow he transformed the team, and he took us to stay in cross country, and he was about to do the same in track.
Wow.
But then the season got canceled. And so it would have been, because my last year going to state would have been a very, I wouldn't have gone individually, I would have gone with the team for the 4x8 team, but it just would have been an amazing experience. But COVID happened, and it was a little hard, because that's like, you've been working on this for 4 years, and
Yes.
then it's kind of like, oh well.
How about same feeling as the Olympians, no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
Definitely.
here these guys are. They've been
Definitely.
training, and suddenly their opportunity to do their thing is taken from them. You know? One thing you said, Henry, that I thought was very interesting, and we need to expand upon a little bit, is that's how it is. Wow. So that is how it is, isn't it? I mean, as we go through life, we're going to be challenged with things that didn't turn out the way we wanted them to, but here they are. So the question is, how do we react to the circumstances that we're faced with? And so along those lines, do you think your faith changes the way you react to changed circumstances?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always going to be challenged by countless things in life, and I think that's one really valuable thing that this class of 2020 will experience, is that that ability to overcome these challenges and to be faced with massive challenges like this, and to not dwell on it, or not to feel sorry for yourself or anything like that, but to like, that's not going to change anything. I have to do something about it. I have to make the most of what I have, and faith is definitely part of that. A lot of the questions, a lot of the times we as Christians, always ask, it's like, why is all this happening?
Yes.
And that's a question that will be answered one day, but we don't know when that's going to be answered, and we certainly don't know the answers now. But instead of doing that, we have to trust God, and have our faith to rely on, and to know that when all else fails, when school gets canceled, when summer plans are thrown out the window, we always have that our faith to rely on, and that's never going to go anywhere.
And one thing that I've noticed was kind of interesting was because online, on social media, you see people's perspectives of the whole situation, what's happening. So it's kind of been funny, keeping an eye on my friends and seeing the difference between the reactions of my non-Christian friends and my Christian friends. Because really, a lot of my Christian friends haven't really posted a whole lot about it. You don't really see them kind of complaining and posting and nonstop going on about it. But with a lot of my non-Christian friends, they're always like, when is this going to end? Get me out of this torture, kind of thing. So it's really funny just to see the difference in the amount of stuff people say just based on, if they're Christian or not. Because I think it really shows that, having that Christian foundation really helps you just to kind of get through it and, know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's going to get better. And you just kind of have to sit through it sometimes.
Well said. Exactly. Well, we're almost out of time. I will tell you this, guys. You're 18, so you don't really know this as well as somebody like an old geezer like me would know. But I'll tell you, there would be many times in your life that you are faced with what appear to be hopeless circumstances. And what have I done? How am I going to get out of this one? Or oh my goodness, this just happened. And other things that are going to happen to you will be, in a given situation, you have your perspective, someone else has their perspective. And they will spin things, for lack of a better way to put it, against you negatively, that in ways that are wrong. And so somehow or other, you've got to work through all of that, and relying on your faith, I think, and always being true to God. My experience has been that these things generally will work out as they should. But if you react wrongly to these assertions, sometimes things don't work out like they should. So always having your faith, always remembering that God is there for you, and no matter what man does to you, God will always be true and faithful to you. I think will carry you a long way in life. So the three of you have demonstrated, in my opinion, a remarkable maturity, a remarkable faith, and you're all well-grounded. We didn't get a chance to explore something I would like to have explored, and that is your faith and how you came to your faith through your families and through your church family and through your family at home. I think, and your family of friends, that these are all families, these relationships that we have that are extremely important. And so I just want to say congratulations to each of you. I think God is working in each of your lives, and you have a very bright future ahead of you. That future, in my opinion, will wane and glow as your faith does. Okay, so always keep your faith, and you'll find your future is much brighter somehow. It just works that way. Thank you to Matt Andrews, Henry Giuliano, and Nate Van Dam. Three very, very fine young men. We're blessed to have them in our community. And our community is going to be losing them, I'm afraid. And so that's just the way life goes. So we just hope you guys have nothing but the best. Be true to yourself. Be true to God. And I think that it's all going to work out great. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
God bless. Have a great week.